敵じゃないか。
見たか、ビグザムが量産の暁には連邦などあっという間に叩いてみせる。
Big Zom is one of the two boss characters in this game, along with New Zeal, that the small community, I'm sure you can, and myself, consider not strong enough to be banned, and you might be surprised by that. In fact, if you look at the tier lists that we wrote up, most of us put Big Zom pretty low on the tier list, if I remember correctly, and that might have been a mistake. A lot of people who play this game and see Big Zom as not bannable, I think he's pretty low, specifically because of his one big weakness. Let me just talk about Big Zom for a second. He's got some pretty long-ranged, very powerful normals. Most of his kicks will do half a bar for most characters. He's got normal beams, so they'll go through shells, and they are mapped to hit your opponent at specific areas. Like, he's got a mid beam, a low beam, anti-air beam, anti-ground beam, and those are all useful if you just keep a note of the angle of where the beams go relative to what buttons, like as if standing light punch as opposed to crouching light punch, which are the two light beams. And if you they have a bit of a slow startup, but they're fast enough where you can kind of shoot them at your opponent once you see where they're going or where they're going to be, with a few exceptions. And then his two big damaging attacks are his missiles and his mega special. And his mega special most of the time is going to be blocked. You can use it to counter certain things, but not usually. And if you hit the full version of it, it will do more than a bar, which is awesome. But the big weakness for Big Zom is that once you get behind him, his options are hugely limited. He can't use the Mega Special anymore. Most of his normals are focused to attack your opponent when he's in front of you, including the beam, so that really, really sucks. The three things that you can do when your opponent is behind you is the missiles, his back kick, which has a pretty slow startup, so it's not that useful. It's like the one option you have if you're in a pinch and your opponent is behind you and you're out of boost. Or you could boost up and use body slam, or just jump behind your opponent. Body slam, if you hit it correctly, will push your opponent in front of you, which is good. But generally speaking, you're going to want to make sure that your opponent doesn't get behind you. So a lot of what you might be doing is keep away. So with Big Zom, it's a combination of keep away and just generally guessing where your opponent is going to be and reacting accordingly. And it's kind of tough to do that with Big Zom because most of his attacks are at boss speed, which means they're made to be strong but easy to react to. So if you do have to be smart with him. Otherwise, you will get destroyed by certain characters. He has a few really, really good matchups, but also really, really horrible ones, which I will get into. But generally speaking, if you happen to play a tournament or be in a community that will actually allow you to play Big Zom, because a lot of people look at this and it's like, there's no way I'm going to let you fucking play Big Zom. But for people who are versed in this game and say like, yeah, I guess it's okay, what you're going to want to do is just keep your opponent out of your back. That's like the most important thing, and that's just the beginning. He's got a lot of normals, none of them combo. So it's going to be a matter of knowing where your opponent is going to be and reacting accordingly with the right attack. And that's pretty much what you need to do. Now, if you came to this video to find out how to beat Big Zom, I can give you that too. I'm just going to display a few of the bad matchups that Big Zom has. One that immediately comes to mind is Sandrock. Shuttle Throw is an arcing projectile, and because of Big Zom's height, the Shuttle Throw's hitbox will completely cover Big Zom's and do way more damage than it was intended to. And so combining that with just throwing some normals in there while Big Zom is trapped in the hit stun, because while Big Zom does not have the traditional hit stun the rest of the cast does, he will get locks in place when colliding with a multi-hitting attack, like a beam, a projectile, or anything that does multiple hits. It will lock Big Zom in place. So combining that with his Mega Special will just destroy Big Zom's health. Another really pathetically bad matchup that Big Zom has, unsurprisingly, is against Death Scythe. One of the big things with Big Zom is that you can't let your opponent get behind you. I've said that before, and Death Scythe can teleport, so there's really nothing that Big Zom can do. Death Scythe is just gonna get behind Big Zom. Like there's no way around that. And then Atomic Slash is big and can destroy Big Zom's missiles, shielding him from that. So all Big Zom really has to do is chip away with Atomic Slash and Jumping Heavy Punch, and just destroy Big Zom. The only chance that Big Zom really has is if Death Scythe happens to use his Mega Special in front of Big Zom, because then Big Zom can just counter with his Mega Special for a whole bar. Another matchup that is also pretty comically bad for Death Scythe is against GPO2A, and that is because his anti-air missile does a crap ton of damage against Big Zom. So really, once GPO2 is behind you, it's kind of over. Another thing that GPO2 has is that his anti-air, a lot of his attacks are actually anti-air, and because Big Zom is so freaking tall, the attacks will do more damage and work differently than they're supposed to. So you can just destroy Big Zom, especially since he can't block. Another bad matchup is against Quinn Mantha, and this is a big example of locking Big Zom in place with the hit stun. His Mega Special will hit stun, lock him in place, and do almost a bar, and then all he needs to do is finish it off with some projectiles, which again, Big Zom can block. And doing that, lather, rinse, repeating 3 times will take 3/4 of Big Zom's health. All the while, you can use your shield to block, or your eye field to block missiles and stuff. And then it's just a matter of finishing Big Zom off, and a good way to do that is with Beam Shower. It puts you a little bit close, but it does a nice chunk of damage.